This is lesson 4 of Bullfinch's Age of Fable. Lesson 4 from Ambleside Online's Year 5 curriculum. So this is chapter 2, again, lesson 4, Earth, Man, and a Gift. Introduction. Bullfinch writes, "The creation of the world is a problem naturally fitted to excite the liveliest interest of man, its inhabitant. The ancient pagans, not having the information on the subject which we derive from the pages of Scripture, had their own way of telling the story, which is as follows. Before earth and sea and heaven were created, all things wore one aspect, to which we give the name of chaos, a confused and shapeless mass, nothing but dead weight, in which, however, slumbered the seeds of things. Earth, sea, and air were all mixed up together. So the earth was not solid, the sea was not fluid, and the air was not transparent. God and nature at last interposed and put an end to this discord, separating earth from sea and heaven from both. The fiery part, being the lightest, sprang up and formed the skies. The air was next in weight and place. The earth, being heavier, sank below, and the water took the lowest place and buoyed up the earth. Here some god, it is not known which, gave his good offices in arranging and disposing the earth. He appointed rivers and bays their places, raised mountains, scooped out valleys, distributed woods, fountains, fertile fields, and stony plains. The air being cleared, the stars began to appear. Fishes took possession of the sea, birds of the air, and four-footed beasts of the land. But a nobler animal was wanted, and man was made. It is not known whether the Creator made him of divine materials, or whether in the earth, so lately separated from heaven, there lurked still some heavenly seeds. Prometheus took some of this earth, and kneading it up with water, made man in the image of gods. He gave him an upright stature, so that while all other animals turn their faces downward and look to the earth, he raises his to heaven and gazes on the stars. Prometheus was one of the Titans, a gigantic race who inhabited the earth before the creation of man. To him and his brother Epimetheus was committed the office of making man and providing him and all other animals with the faculties necessary for their preservation. Epimetheus undertook to do this, and Prometheus was to overlook his work when it was done. Epimetheus accordingly proceeded to bestow upon the different animals the various gifts of courage, strength, swiftness, sagacity. Wings to one, claws to another, a shelly covering to a third, etc. But when man came to be provided for, who was to be superior to all the other animals, Epimetheus had been so prodigal of his resources that he had nothing left to bestow upon him. In his perplexity, he resorted to his brother Prometheus, who, with the aid of Minerva, went up to heaven and lighted his torch at the chariot of the sun and brought down fire to man. With this gift, man was more than a match for all other animals. It enabled him to make weapons wherewith to subdue them, tools with which to cultivate the earth, to warm his dwelling so as to be comparatively independent of climate, and finally to introduce the arts and to coin money, the means of trade and commerce." End of the chapter. There are some questions for narration and discussion. So, are there any ideas about this account of creation that you especially like? How do they fit with what is taught elsewhere in the ancient world or today? And then there's a creative narration idea. Imagine that you are a parent or grandparent in the Greek or Roman world, answering a child's questions about where things came from. What would you tell them? If you were the child, what questions might you still have? And creative narration idea number 2, dramatize the conversation between Epimetheus and Prometheus about how the equipping of the animals has been going and the problem that there is nothing much left for the humans.